everybody, it's been exactly 1 week since I have beaten Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as of recording this video. I've needed the week to just like sit on the game's ending, really try to digest what the heck happened, and then also kind of sort out my thoughts on the game. So I'm here in post-Crystal fashion to talk about my final thoughts and I guess mini review of Final Fantasy VII. I know that there's a lot of controversy amongst people, and let me tell you how much I don't care. These are my thoughts. All right, this is my overall review. I first want to talk about the thing that stuck in my brain the most from playing this game. I love that I have new feelings for things that I did not ever feel before when playing the original. For context, I played the original FF7 whenever I was 10 years old, way too young, didn't understand it, proceeded to play it like 2 more times. I've total played it about 4 or 5 times. I don't know, I lost count. But I've played it a lot in my life. So it is the game that I am most attached to. I know the most about, like on a scene-by-scene basis. Like I remember so much about it because I replayed it so much and I started playing as a kid. So I'm very familiar with how the events are supposed to go. Throughout the entire playthrough, I was just so excited to see what was gonna be next. Like, oh, how are they gonna do the gold saucer, knowing that was gonna be next. Like, and they never disappointed with delivering any of the things that I was attached to from the original, which was the coolest feeling. But I want to talk about and focus on the things that I was the most attached to, that I was never attached to before, and I love that so much. Let's start off with character relationships. I love how much they developed the relationships between the party members, between the characters. Tifa and Aerith, probably one of the cutest things ever. I love how much they're just like girlfriends at this point. Like, they're so cute. And that goes with everybody. That goes with Barrett and Aerith, Barrett and Red, everybody. Like, the party just had such a good dynamic that the original had a little bit, but failed to deliver on some character relationships. And there's so much of that in Rebirth, and I just loved how much I really felt for the friendships, so that whenever you get to the City of the Ancients at the very end and Aerith dies, you feel a lot more things because these characters were so much more attached to Aerith other than just Cloud, other than just you. There was a lot more development there, so it felt great. The second thing that I felt really attached to that I never wasn't really attached to are the weapons. You actually feel more empathy toward the weapons. Empathy, sympathy, whatever. During my playthrough, I was calling the weapons that appeared in Mount Corel and Gongaga reactors, I called them Sapphire Weapon at the time, because I totally forgot what Sapphire Weapon actually looked like in the original game. I don't actually think that they are Sapphire Weapon anymore. I think I was totally mistaken in my playthrough. But regardless, I don't know, what if like the two of them merge to become Sapphire Weapon? I don't know. But anyway, these weapons, they actually make you feel for them. You feel emotions. Like, I felt bad that they were forced to come out to defend the planet, where I did not feel bad before, and that is largely because of that one Tifa scene that was added in Rebirth that wasn't in the original, with the Gongaga reactor, her being in the life stream. That whole scene was just so magical and such a great addition to feeling so many things that I have not felt before. That is like the moral of my review. Like, I love how I have additional feelings. It makes the game feel new for old players like me that have played the shit out of the original Final Fantasy VII way too much. The third thing that I felt for that I never felt before in the original was Cait Sith. Oh my god! Cait Sith not only had like the perfect animations, but also like the perfect voice actor, the perfect everything, the perfect combat even. I never put Cait Sith in my party with any of my playthroughs because his moveset just pissed me off. It was too much RNG, and this is like more controlled RNG. Like, he still has that like luck factor, but there's still so much more that you could do with Cait Sith whenever playing as him in combat. It's just, I loved Cait Sith so much. Like, whenever he actually betrayed the team, when you knew it was gonna happen, it's like, oh, I actually felt so bad. like, I never felt that way before in the original game. Like, he was so attached to them. He really wanted to be friends. I just, they really made that that scene felt so much more emotional because they did Cait Sith so much better in Rebirth than he was in the original. It was just so amazing. The same thing can be said for Yuffie as well, but Cait Sith I'm way more attached to. Like, goddamn, they did so good. The fourth thing that I got so attached to that I never was attached to before was the black-robed guys. Reunion? These guys, when you play the original game, you just see the black-robed guys everywhere you go. In every town, you open up a door, there's one sitting on the toilet or something. I actually don't remember if that's one. I think it is at some point, but I just forget. It's a vague memory. But yeah, you just see them everywhere you go, and they're just mumbling reunion, and you see that they're numbered, and that's it. You don't really understand, nor do you feel anything for them. This game makes you feel bad for them in a way that I never felt bad for them before. Holy crap. I thought that that was so cool. Every time they would come on the screen, I would be like, oh my god, I feel terrible for them. Like, ooh, just makes you hate Hojo so much more, hate Shinra so much more for what they're doing to these people, the Mako infused, the degradation, just, oh, it's so, ooh, so much more emotion. And like the whole Roche thing, Broden, oh my gosh, I can believe Broden and 2 got involved in that. Like, I felt so bad for the black-robed guys, and I can't believe I felt bad. The fifth thing that I felt more feelings for was the play scene. I was so pleased with how that played out in Rebirth compared to the original play scene in the Gold Saucer. Holy crap, that was so cool, the customized date and everything. I loved the dates, seeing them in post. Like, I've watched YouTube videos of how all the dates play out at this point. I love all of it. It's so good. I literally can't believe that the play scene was done better than I could have ever imagined. Like, the fact that they really leaned into the silly factor that is Final Fantasy VII. The original game is a very silly one. There's humor everywhere, and there's stupid crap everywhere. And they embraced all of these moments in the original, and they made them so much more silly, and I love it. I'm like dying for everything that happened in this game. It was just way too perfect. The play scene, I'm like, by the end of the play scene, I was like almost in tears. I'm like, I would have never cried in the original play scene. Like, what the heck? I'm like crying here, I'm like, the emotions were so high, like so good. And last but not least, the sixth and final thing that I want to point out is the Dyne scene. Holy crap. I was questioning for a while whether I actually liked how Dyne went. For those of you that do not know, the original Final Fantasy VII has Dyne committing suicide. So once you do the 1v1 fight with Dyne, he falls over the edge of his own volition and commits suicide. So in this game, it was very different, having a Shinra soldier shoot him down and him dying more in an honorable way when he's fighting back. Very, very different way of Dyne dying. And I had to sit on that for a while because that is very drastic in difference. And I think I came to the conclusion that I really liked how they ended up doing Dyne here. It still was equally just as emotional, and I think it even makes more sense for Dyne's character too. So yeah, very drastic change, but I think a really good one at the end. And I cried so hard. Wow. Like, I think the only 2 times in the original FF7 game that I cried were Cosmo Canyon, with the whole Seto thing, which I again cried in the Rebirth scene too. Just that scene hit me hard in the original game to a point where I cried every single time that I got to that scene once you get through the Gi trials. And the part that gets me the most always was whenever you see Seto, like, you see Nanaki howling at the moon, and at Seto's stoned, petrified body, and you just see the crying, the tears drop down. That makes me cry every time. It's so good. And Rebirth did that amazing. But tangent aside, that moment, and of course, right after Aerith dying, like usually when characters die, that doesn't inherently make me cry. It's what makes me cry is seeing the emotions of the characters, how characters react to a character death, seeing how attached they were and how heartbroken they are is the things that make me cry the most. How other people get affected. So in the original game, that is specifically what made me cry. So yeah, Dyne, I never cried about whenever I played the original FF7. That scene was very sad, don't get me wrong, but I didn't get really emotional over it. But the way that they did it in Rebirth, I was really, really emotional by the end of the Dyne scene, only to be ruined by Palmer shortly thereafter, which is a difference, I guess. It doesn't feel out of place, but it's definitely different to put Palmer there instead of Rocket Town. That's fine, I understand why they did that. But yeah, God, those are my 6 things that were an addition of feeling, an addition of emotion for me that I did not get from the original Final Fantasy VII game. So having all of these new feelings just from a single game, from a single part of a game, of a much larger part of a game, like, that's crazy to me. This game was amazing in every way, shape, and form. Like, this game is pretty faithful, scarily faithful to the original. In my opinion, the changes that they made were largely, if not all, super positive ones that I felt made sense for the direction of the game that they were going for. I was like, oh, I can see this change here, but you know what? I think I like it better, and I think it makes more sense. I found myself saying that to pretty much every change from the original to the remake. And this will be a controversial take, but I love that the ending of this game leaves you wondering and confused, rather than just giving you this ending and making you emotional and not making you think about it. There are different ways and different approaches to endings of stories. And I know this ending probably upset a lot of people, but for me, I don't mind either case of endings as long as it's well written. In my opinion, this one is definitely confusing. It's like a barrage of information that just gets shoved at you at the end, and I kind of don't mind it because my brain, I like analyzing things in post, and I like figuring out what the heck I just watched because it's such a whiplash of emotion. I honestly kind of like that. Not all the time, but I like it most of the time, I'll say. And what I like most about that direction is that it appeals to both new and old players. So new players of Final Fantasy VII that don't know anything about the story won't feel left out because the old players are equally as confused. And I think that is a really smart direction personally, because you don't want to differentiate the feelings of new to old players. So when I think of it like that, I'm like, you know what? Kind of smart, kind of vibe with it. I really like it. But yeah, no, I've come to the conclusion that Aerith is very dead. I had to really analyze the ending. As of recording this video, I haven't watched anybody's theories on how the ending of Final Fantasy VII was because I wanted to try to make my own and figure it out by myself. So without looking at anybody else, I'm saying that Aerith is dead. There are multiple worlds. I think the ending was trying to say that there's not just like 2 worlds that I thought that there was. No, it seems like there's like 5 or 6, maybe even more. Like probably maybe 4, I don't know. But there's a lot more worlds than we all thought initially. Like, I thought it was only 2. I don't think it makes sense if there's only 2. I think there has to be way more than 2. But the interesting thing is that I think that Zack is the person that is creating different worlds. There's that one scene where he is at that crossroads on the bike and he can go right to go save Biggs, I believe, or go left to get a cure for Cloud. I forget what the 2 decisions were. But the point that I want to make is that when he chooses one, the other one lights up. And I read that as like when Zack made a decision, a world was created. I think that he is like an anomaly in itself that creates worlds. And that is a weird power. Like, imagine flexing like, oh yeah, I could create worlds because of decisions I make. I think that's what's happening here. So it's very interesting to think about the ending from that perspective and Zack's journey through Rebirth in that perspective. There's a lot I could say about the ending. I think that actually could be its whole entire video. That's just my very general basic understanding of what happened in the ending. There's a lot more to unpack there. That's just what I'll leave out on the table, and now I can go free myself and watch other theory videos. I'm very curious about what other people are putting out there. I'm very excited for the last part of the FF7 remake trilogy here. But I will leave with one thing that makes me super, super frustrated. I have one gripe with Final Fantasy VII, and it is a very big, actually no, it's not a very big gripe, but if I had one bad thing to say about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, what happened to you, Cid? That's it. Like, I do love Cid in this game, but I will admit, as a hardcore fan of Final Fantasy VII Original, it is very weird to meet Cid and not be taken aback by his aggressive nature. He is so soft, and I did not expect that. It was kind of scary. I'm like staring at Cid, like waiting for him to swear at me because that's what he does. He's just so full of anger and because of his dream that he lost. And he swears all the time, very aggressive in nature. And to see this man be so laid back is so weird that it almost makes me think that this is some other Cid in another world that is in our world. Like, this isn't our true Cid. This can't be our true Cid. I refuse to believe that. But I also think that something could happen, and I do think that there's a possibility of that old personality behavior that'll come back once Cid gets back to Rocket Town, which I'm sure we'll get around to in the final part when we explore Vincent and Cid's backstory, since those are the only two left. Well, technically Yuffie's as well. We have to go to Wutai. But it'll be interesting to go back to Rocket Town and see if Cid's aggressive behavior comes back. But that is my one gripe with the game, is that it's very, very weird to see a very soft Cid. But I will say one good thing on that note. It's nice to see Cid actually looking his age, because you look at the original portrait of Final Fantasy VII for Cid, he looks like a fucking 50-year-old. He looks so old. But bro, this guy's like 30, I think? He doesn't look 30 in like any media. So it's nice to see Cid actually looking his age in Rebirth. That's one thing I'll say. Also, J. Michael Tatum, I love you so much. Like, J. Michael Tatum has been my favorite voice actor of 12 years. I'm not even exaggerating. So seeing my favorite voice actor voice Cid, I love him so much more. And he had a great accent. He had a great voice. Just wanted to be more aggressive. Looking forward to what the next game brings. That's it. That's all my thoughts for Rebirth. They're largely positive. I accept the changes that were made. I think that they're amazing and makes very much sense directionally, artistically, directionally, whatever, however you want to call it. I'm super happy with what they're doing with the remake. It's like a fever dream, honestly. Growing up with this game and seeing it as it is today. Growing up and seeing Advent Children like 10 times in a row in a single week at one point. Whenever I discovered Advent Children, I did that. I watched it 10 times in a single week because I loved it so much. That one scene that Vincent swoops down in the White Forest and like saves Cloud. I even remember the music. He like dun 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 dun, and he like saves Cloud somehow in Vincent power fashion. And then yeah, that I watched that scene a lot. I love Vincent Valentine. Fighting him as Chaos was really hot. Alright, I'm ending this review. Hope you guys enjoyed my playthrough and my mini rant on a review, and I will see you in my next playthrough. Bye!